This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Leading a business today means constantly adapting. On the Executive Insights podcast brought to you by AWS, global leaders share how they're making tough calls, testing bold ideas, and putting innovation into practice, generative AI included. If you're looking for real stories behind what's working, this is it. Subscribe to the Executive Insights podcast today. Available now on all major podcast platforms.
Let the Record Show with Judge Richard Weinberg and Chairman Jesse Garcia.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to Let the Record Show with Chairman Jesse Garcia of the Republican Party. Jesse is the Vice Chair of the New York State Republican Party and the County Chair of the Suffolk County Party. With us is Eric Levine, our esteemed co-host, good friend, noted attorney, commentator, and essayist. I'm Judge Richard Weinberg, and we're honored and privileged today to have the great United States Senator, the senior senator from the great state of South Carolina, Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator Lindsey Graham is a member of the Appropriations Committee, Judiciary Committee. He is an expert on foreign policy, national security, served as a colonel in the Air Force, won a Bronze Star, and is truly one of the great leaders of Congress, previously in the House and now in the United States Senate. Senator, it's an honor and privilege to have you aboard. Thank you for joining us this week.
Well, thank you. Got a pretty esteemed group there. I'm glad to be with you.
Well, thank you very much. Eric,
we apparently have a very low bar, but thank you.
Well,
I know how you feel.
We're starting with the with the most esteemed bar.
People in Congress. Yeah. I said, well, that tells you a lot right there.
Well, well, I'm turning you over to one of the members of our bar here, Eric Levine. Senator.
Okay. Hey, Eric.
Lindsey, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
Good, bud. Good. Thank you. Glad to be with you.
So our listeners should know there may be a more supportive senator of the American-Israeli relationship currently sitting in the Senate. I just can't think of anyone. Senator Graham is just spectacular on the issue, and we're honored to have him with us today. And on that note, I'd like to start with what's currently going on in Gaza. So
okay.
The Hamas Politburo member, Ghazi Hamad, recently stated that part of the goal of October 7th was, quote, it forced the world to open its eyes to the Palestinian cause and to act forcefully in this respect. And he goes on to say, we are the victims. Therefore, nobody should blame us for things we do on October 7th, on October 10th, on October 1 millionth, and everything we do is justified. Now, the Wall Street Journal ran what I thought was a brilliant op-ed the other day, and they entitled it, Kill Jews, Get Your Own State. The only caveat I would have made to that, I would have added, kill Jews and starve your own citizens or your fellow Gazans and get your own state. So in response to what's going on in Gaza, France, England, and Canada have declared that they're going to recognize a Palestinian state. Now, putting aside that no one is going to confuse these people with Winston Churchill, what exactly explains, in your judgment, why England, France, and Canada have taken this step?
I think it's domestic politics in those countries for some reason. You see all the visuals coming out of Gaza. They can be hard to look at sometimes, but you got to remember who started this. It was Hamas. It wasn't Israel. And so the European left, for sure, is trying to, have the drumbeat that Israel's the perpetrator, not the victim. The main thing, it just prolongs the war. I told the British not long ago, what are you doing? I mean, we have Hamas on the ropes. The Arabs last week called on Hamas to disarm and leave. That's the right answer. And the Europeans are declaring a state, which entices Hamas to keep fighting. and it just prolongs the war. But here's my question to our European friends. What is it, boundaries of the state? Is it Gaza plus West Bank? Who's the leader? Have you changed their school system? Does it have an army? Where's the capital? Other than those few details, it sounds like a great idea. So this is just political reaction in Europe that makes no sense, that does more harm than good. The Arabs had it right. Hamas, lay down your arms and leave. That's the right answer.
Well, what's interesting is that as it relates to those three European countries, they don't make a single demand of Hamas.
They don't,
your point,
they don't describe what the state looks like. They don't describe any demands on the people running the state to reject killing all the Jews. As if, they teach math there. But if you had 10 people and you had 10 Jews, you kill 6, how many would you have left? I mean, if that doesn't change, nothing changes.
So one of the things, and to your point about prolonging the war, Prime Minister Netanyahu announced today, it's my understanding, that Israel has decided it's going to take over all of Gaza, rather than with staying back at 75% and hoping it could pressure Hamas to surrender and then eventually turn over the hostages. But by making no demands of Hamas, the European countries have emboldened them to know that as long as they don't surrender, as long as they don't agree to a ceasefire, as long as they hold the hostages, as long as they torture the hostages, they'll get more and more and more from the Europeans. So the Israelis are going to create new facts on the ground. Once Israel starts finishing what they've started, because Hamas must be obliterated, you can only guess and anticipate the hue and cry from the UN, Europe, and the rest of the world about how the Jews are committing this genocide and starving the poor Gazans. What's your reaction to that?
Well, number one, Israel has the ability to commit genocide. They have the ability to destroy the Palestinians militarily. They don't have the desire. Hamas has the desire to kill all the Jews. They just don't have the ability. So
great point.
That's, in a nutshell, genocide to me. So I said 2 weeks ago on Meet the Press that Israel's come to the point now where they got to pick a new strategy. Negotiating with these guys just tortures everything and everybody. We're losing too many soldiers now. The IDF is losing 3 or 4 a week. So I suggested that Israel should do to Gaza what we did as Americans in World War II, take Tokyo and Berlin, occupy the place, root it out of terrorists, the enemy, destroy Hamas, give them safe passage if they choose to. If they don't, go in and just dig them out of the ground, occupy the place, and come up with a plan down the road to have it more stable like we did with Germany and Japan. The Israelis said today they're going to occupy the place, but they're looking for a plan to turn it over to somebody. I think that's the smart way to do it, is just go ahead and militarily destroy Hamas, occupy Gaza, and work with the Arabs to see if you can find a solution down the road. But it's going to take generations to counter the ideological teachings that have been going on. The Gazans are the most radical people on the planet. They've been taught from birth to death to kill all the Jews, and that's what we dealt with in Germany and Japan. We didn't leave. It took decades before you could devolve power back. So I see the World War II model making a lot of sense. Go ahead and take the place, occupy it. You got to remember, Israel withdrew from Gaza as part of the deal. They didn't get much for withdrawing from Gaza. So I don't care what the world thinks, to be honest with you. All the people who want to destroy Israel want to destroy America. Common values, common enemies. So if I were Israel, I'd finish off Hamas. I'd militarily occupy the place, see if I could sit down with the Arabs and find out some way to reconstruct Gaza and the West Bank.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's interesting you picked the World War II example of England, of Germany and Japan. Let's remember, as the days of the Second World War were ending in Europe, the firebombing of Dresden. Those attacks on Dresden were designed specifically to scare civilians. They were designed specifically to kill civilians, right, not just military targets. There are no military targets in Dresden. We weren't dropping in food. We weren't feeding the country who had declared war on us. Israel is the first country in the history of the world to be feeding the group of people that have attacked it during the war, and yet they're accused of starvation. Similarly, in Japan, it wasn't until we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Again, those were not military targets; those were civilian targets designed to scare them into surrender.
Yeah.
And nobody accused us of genocide. Now, in hindsight, people like to accuse us of genocide, but it's the same people that are, that line up against the Israelis today. But you win the war, and then you worry about what comes after. I could not agree with you more.
Yeah. Let's build out on that. Here's the problem with what's going on in 2025. The world doesn't accept that Israel's in a fight for its very existence. They look at the relationship between Gaza and Israel as a dispute where there's blame on both sides, and Israel, is sort of an occupying power, and it's not really a fight for the life of the Jewish people. That's wrong. Everywhere you turn around in Israel, there's somebody wanting to cut your throat. Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, Iran, the greatest Satan of all. So I look at the fight going on in Gaza as a fight for the very survival of the Jewish state. I look at the efforts to neutralize the Iranian nuclear program as a way to prevent a second Holocaust. I see their actions like ours in World War II. If you had told somebody in World War II, we need to feed the Germans and the Japanese, they'd run you out of town. We were all in. It was total war. We were attacked by the Japanese, and our goal was to take Tokyo. Germany declared war on us right after Pearl Harbor. We sided with all the good guys, and we took the Nazis down. They openly tried to kill all the Jews, and once is enough. So nobody criticized us in real time for dropping atomic bombs. Was that disproportionate? What is disproportionate when somebody wants to kill you? And the people in Gaza have been radicalized, and they have to be changed. And, I hate to see some kid get killed. I hate that, but I blame Hamas. This war could end tomorrow if Hamas laid down their weapons. So Israel's not the bad guy here. Israel's defending itself from existential threats. Every direction you look, Israel is fighting somebody that would like to kill all the Jews. They're very much like we were in World War II. And again, were we wrong to drop bombs 80 years ago yesterday on Nagasaki, 3 days later to drop another one, on Hiroshima, 3 days later to drop one on Nagasaki? My dad was in World War II. He was in New Guinea. People like him are very pleased. He's long gone, but that we ended that war as soon as we could. So it's just a double standard.
Yeah, no, my father was training for the invasion of Japan.
Yeah,
when Truman dropped the bomb. So Harry Truman saved my father's life.
Oh, no question. Anybody in that era, there'd been a big casualty response. But the mindset that we were at war with evil and our very existence hung in the balance is missing here. Israel is in a war against evil, radical Islam in different forms, and their future hangs in the balance. I'm with Israel.
Well, one of the messages I don't think that gets out there enough is that Israel isn't just fighting for Israel. Israel's fighting for Western civilization. It's at the tip of the spear. They're fighting for us. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, what are the ties that bind? Well, Israel's democracy. If you don't like this government, stick around. In about 30 days, there'll be a new one. Israel really is very much into voting. Israel's a very vibrant democracy with a lot of disagreements, but they're a rule of law nation. I think the IDF is a very ethical fighting force, and when they have problems, they deal with it themselves. So we have common values between the United States and Israel, and we definitely have common enemies. Everybody who wishes to destroy Israel also wishes to destroy us. They're fighting our fight. The people they're fighting would come over here if they could get here. So that's why I'm all in for Israel. As to Iran, people always ask me, what's the biggest national security threat? Most people go to China pretty quickly. I say Iran with a nuclear weapon because that would create a nuclear arms race in the Mideast where the Arabs would want their own nuke, and you'd be going down to the road to Armageddon, my part of the Bible. The bottom line is, I think Americans need to understand that what Israel is doing to suppress the proxies of Iran makes us safer. Israel taking on Iran in conjunction with President Trump makes America safer because we're in the crosshairs of these groups also. So when you're helping Israel, you're actually helping yourself.
Senator, I want to turn you over to Chairman Garcia. Jesse, questions for the Senator.
Senator, thank you so much for joining us. And before I get into my question about your bill on secondary sanctions on Russia, unlike myself, who lives here in New York with my two esteemed guests, co-hosts, my son is fortunate to serve and go to the Citadel in your home state of South Carolina, where you represent. So he's definitely got better representation down there than we do up here in the U.S. Senate.
Thank you.
That being said, I wanted to speak to you about your bill on secondary sanctions on Russia, which is the key, which really has a teeth. Because I've read reports, and perhaps you can clear this up if not, that over the years, especially during the years of the Biden administration, Putin and Russia have tried to insulate themselves from direct sanctions, their oligarchs and such, from sanctions for the United States. That truly the secondary sanctions, in which those countries would be sanctioned for dealing with Russia, especially on the purchase of oil and energy, is really what's going to hurt their economy and hurt Putin and the oligarchies where it matters most. It seems like as of about a month, the bill's been tooling around. It seems like there's been some coordination with the White House on flexibility for the president. So if you could just let us know where we are with your bill on that, on secondary sanctions.
Thank you for bringing it up. Number one, about a year ago, I was talking to President Trump before he got in office about Ukraine, because that's a big challenge. And here's what I found. When you solve a problem in one place, it creates momentum for problem solving in other places. I think if we can end this war in Russia and Ukraine honorably and justly, so there's no third invasion, it gives you some leverage against Iran and Hamas. But the main thing for me, this is a dress rehearsal for Taiwan. China buys the most oil of anyone from Putin. The Putin economy is fossil fuel based. Seldom in the history of warfare is an enemy this exposed. Without oil and gas sales, they pretty much can't run their economy. So Putin could care less about how many Russian soldiers die. He throws them into a meat grinder. And he is insulated personally from sanctions. He lives well, and that's pretty much all he cares about, he and his friends. So why don't you go after the customers? I talked to President Trump about this about a year ago. And when he got in office, we started playing golf when he was president. And we looked and saw what countries buy oil from Putin, gas from Putin that don't help Ukraine. They're China, India, Brazil, and a handful of countries. So I started this bill working with President Trump. I've got 85 co-sponsors that will allow President Trump to put tariffs on countries that buy oil and gas from Russia who do not help Ukraine. And that's China, India, and Brazil. The president has been we've worked with him and his team on the legislation. He has executive power, and he yesterday put tariffs on India because they're buying Russian gas and oil, reselling it at a profit, and not helping Ukraine. I think tomorrow you're going to have more executive tariffs applied to other countries, as I've described previously. So he's doing it through executive power. If for some reason he lost his tariff case, the bill would be there to fill in the blanks, as backup. And I'm hoping that when we get back in September, that the president will have worked out how to implement the bill in a fashion the president agrees to. We want to give him all the leverage we can. He can pick the number between 0 and 500%. It doesn't set a number in the bill. It allows him to pick that number. He can waive it at his discretion He can change it every day if he would like. So I think hitting India yesterday has made it more likely that this meeting with Putin will happen. And I'm hoping in the next couple of days we'll hit China and other countries. Without China, India, and Brazil, Putin would be out of money. So let's go after his customers to force him to the peace table, Putin.
Senator, it's Judge Weinberg, and I want to ask you a question before we conclude. What I'm very concerned about is how the open border policy of the European Union, where you get into one country and through the deal with the European Union, you can jump all around Europe. They've opened up the doors to I respectfully submit, to the death of Europe and Western civilization, because they've allowed people in who have no common shared values, who don't want to come to assimilate and to build upon the successes of Europe, but they want to come in and impose their own culture and their own radical views. How concerned are you about what's going on in Europe?
Well, I'm very much so. I'm very concerned that Europe is, again, this Palestinian state, it makes no sense. There's no definition of what it is. There are no conditions on it. It's just a political statement. We're a country of immigrants, e pluribus unum, out of many come one. But what we've done here in America is require assimilation. And I think that's the way to do it. People from different places become Americans. And the European immigration policy doesn't really call for that. There are enclaves in Paris where you can't literally go in. The cops won't go in because people are so radicalized. So the way you do immigration is the American way. Illegal immigration is a bad deal for everybody, including the illegal immigrant. But the way we've done it here in the past is you have to pass the citizen test, you have to assimilate, and become an American and adopt American values. That's what's missing in Europe. People come and they just scatter into the wind, and that's the problem for Europe. And I don't want it to come here. And I welcome people, do it legally here, but become an American when you get here. No matter where you come from, you need to be an American. And American's not an ethnic group; it's an idea. It's not a religion; it's an idea. And let's preserve that idea.
I think that's very well said, Senator. And I think one of the great successes of the second Trump administration is a recognition that if you have open borders with no control of who's coming in, no vetting of these folks, then you open yourself up to all kinds of problems. The Biden administration opened us up. We're going to be cleaning this mess up for years because we didn't have the courage and the intelligence to keep our borders safe and to make sure that the people come in want to make a contribution to this country, not undermine it.
Exactly. And, that we're, as a nation, we're cats and dogs from everywhere, different religions, different backgrounds, but we assimilate to become the strongest nation on the planet. And that model needs to be preserved. Open borders undercuts that. This wokeism undercuts that, boys should not be playing girls' sports. Donald Trump is fix this in 6 months, shut down a broken border. I don't think Israel's ever had a better friend. And he's had a heck of a 6 months, one big, beautiful bill. We got to go market it better. But I really appreciate President Trump's clarity here. Israel's a friend of America, and the border was broken, and he solved it through sheer will. He's trying to work with Putin, but now he's getting tough on Putin's customers, and I'm hoping we can end this war. So I have to scoot, but I enjoyed it. We live in one of the most dangerous times in modern history. A lot of bad guys on the move. And to our friends in Israel, we have your back.
Senator, on behalf of Chairman Garcia, Eric Levine, and myself, it's been an honor and privilege to have you on Let the Record Show. You're a voice of courage and wisdom, and we deeply appreciate having you on the show, and we look forward to having you back on Let the Record Show. Thank you for joining us today.
You. All right. Take care, Eric. We'll see you guys.
Yeah,
y'all take care.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care.
Well, we've just completed this great interview with Senator Lindsey Graham, senior senator from the state of South Carolina, a recognized leader of the United States Senate, member of the Judiciary Committee, the Appropriation Committee, a great leader, expert on foreign policy, a winner of the Bronze Star, and we're delighted to have had him on our first segment. Please stay with us. We'll be back in but a few moments with more interesting and conversation on Let the Record Show.
Let the Record Show with Judge Richard Weinberg and Chairman Jesse Garcia on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.